Good morning, all you freedom loving patriots out there. Craig Gibson here with Sons of Liberty, and this is Constitution Coffee and Service. All right, so this week we're going to be running our Heroes collection. So we're going to run a different coffee each day. We're going to be starting it off with Black Rifle Coffee's 5 Alarm, honoring our firefighters. It's a medium roast. Be quite honest, it's not one of my favorites of Black Rifle. It's good, but it's not one of my personal favorites. We're also going to be running our Overwatch Coffee Shop Tachycardia in honor of our EMS personnel. This is our chocolate caramel rum, Irish cream, and vanilla flavored coffee. We will be running our Black Rifle's Thin Blue line, another medium roast. Now this one I absolutely love. It's, I don't even know how to describe it, other than if you like CAF from Black Rifle Coffee, you will probably like this one. Biggest difference is this doesn't have the caffeine content that CAF has. And of course, law enforcement. We will be running our Overwatch Coffee Shop Ladder Company. That's our brandy and creme de cacao flavored coffee. I don't know why with the voice, it just happens sometimes. And of course, we will be running our Code 4 in honor of our law enforcement, and that is our maple syrup and smoky bacon flavored coffee. So we'll be running each one each day of the week. Like I said, that's our Heroes collection. If we were open 6 days, we'd run another one, but these are the ones we're going to run this week. Hope you guys will be able to come in and give them all a try, or at least try one or two. All right, so this week we were going to talk about the 12th Amendment of the Constitution. Now, the Constitution is extremely important. Our rights are extremely important. Our knowledge, our education on the Constitution is extremely important. But I had something else today that I just feel like is a little more pressing at the moment, given the state of our country right now. All right. If you've ever seen the movie American Sniper, the analogy's been printed in a few different books. It's probably been used in other movies. It's been used quite a bit, sometimes appropriately, sometimes not. And what we're talking about is sheepdogs. So the analogy comes from retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, or Grossman. I may not have pronounced that right, but anyway. And the whole analogy breaks down to there are 3 types of people in the world, or 3 groups of people in the world. You've got your sheep. Now, a majority of the population are sheep. And this isn't meant to be derogatory, even though, sometimes it's used when we disagree with people who are just blindly following their orders, following what they're told to do from the media, their politicians. A lot of times we refer to them as sheeple. And there's been a lot of that reference made, especially here in 2020, with the whole COVID issues, the mask issues, businesses being forced to close down, social distancing, and then of course, we've got the riots and that going on. So yeah, it's been used a lot. Then you have the wolves. Well, hold on. Let me get back to the sheep for a minute. So your sheep are typically they're fairly moral, ethical people that they don't want to make waves. They don't want confrontation. So they will typically do as they're told. And do whatever it takes to get along with everybody. unfortunately, at times that means they will compromise their morals. There may be things they are morally against or ethically against. But in order to not make waves, they remain silent. Or, they may even take part in certain things. Again, because they don't want to make waves. They don't want to be a target. And they believe this is the best way to do that. And then you have the wolves. Now, the wolves are the evil ones. They are your sociopaths that have no problem going out and committing crime, no problem destroying people's lives, taking things that don't belong to them, destroying property. And they count on the sheep being unprepared, being unwilling to stand up for themselves, being unable to stand up for themselves. Then you have the sheepdogs. Now, and this may hurt some feelings out there, but sometimes the truth just hurts. There are a lot of people running around this country that think just because they have a carry permit, or maybe they live in a state where no permit's required, but because they carry a gun, that they're now a sheepdog. Well, the truth is, a lot of those people, the minute violence starts, they will freeze up. They will die because they will be unable to perform as they believe they will. The real sheepdogs are the ones who have done things in their lives, have shown that they have the ability to run towards fire while everybody else is running away. And not, we're not talking just gunfire, burning buildings, burning cars, dropping into the middle of a forest, responding to a medical emergency, not knowing what's on the other side of that door when they get there, not knowing what they're going to be exposed to when they get on scene to take care of a patient. Then, of course, we have our military veterans, many of which, given the fact we've been at war for as long as we have been downrange. They've taken fire. They've had to return fire. They've been in situations that a majority of Americans have never been in, and hopefully will never have to be in. Those are your sheepdogs. They want to live in peace. They want to enjoy time with their family, their friends, run their businesses, go to work, whatever the case is, go to church. But they've been given a gift. They've been given a gift of the ability to harness all the aggression, all the anger, and all the violence needed when evil crosses their doorstep. And guys, we can see right now in our nation where the wolves are running. They're running crazy. They are controlling cities. They are trying to control our entire nation. And what are we doing about it? We're staying silent. We keep hearing about the silent majority. Well, it's time for the silent majority to be silent no more. Because we got an election coming up, and honestly, if you think this election is going to change anything, you're sadly mistaken, because many of the same politicians are still going to be in place. And those politicians have gotten away with corruption, have gotten away with constitutional violations for far too long, because we have remained silent for far too long. Yes, go out, vote. Definitely. I'm not saying not to vote. Please don't not vote. But do not rely on the vote alone to change the course of what's going on right now. Because there is real evil out there. And it's showing itself more and more every single day. When you have a little boy who is murdered, not accidentally killed, but straight out murdered, and you have grown adults on social media saying this little boy deserved to die because he had white privilege? Really? So a little boy was just trying to enjoy life. Deserved to die because he had white privilege. We have grown adults. And keep in mind, when I say adults, I mean as far as age and physical nature. Obviously, mentally, they are nothing. They are not adults. They are worse than children. But you have grown adults who, instead of moving on when they see something on social media or sending condolences to our president, no, instead they make just hate-filled comments about how they wish it had been President Trump that died, not his brother. That's the kind of country we're living in because we have let evil take control. Because we've stood by it for too long and we have let this evil just build and build, and we've let the voice of evil be louder than our own. Sheepdogs, it is time to come out of the shadows. It is time to stand up. It is time to make the silent majority silent no more. Because if we don't stand up for our country, who's going to? It's not going to be the wolves, and it's not going to be the sheep. The sheepdogs are going to have to step up, and we're going to have to take it back. And I'm not saying we need to get violent. What I am saying is we need to start speaking up, and we need to be louder. We need to be louder than the trash, the evil that is out there controlling our media, controlling our social media, controlling our cities. When we have politicians that are allowing this evil to continue, that's a problem. They work for us, guys. It's time we fire them. And we put people in office who are actually going to get the job done, who are actually going to be focused on America as a whole. Not certain groups of people, but America as a whole. Every citizen, every color, every age, every economic status, America as a whole. That is what they need to be focused on. But they're not. They're not. They're too busy pandering to certain groups. They're too busy pandering to certain companies, to certain corporations. And for what? So that they can make a little more money, so that they can keep getting reelected. Even though they've done nothing for our country for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years that they've been sitting in office. It's time we stand up. And our Christian sheepdogs out there, guys, come on. Enough is enough. It's time to stand up for our country. Stand up for our men and women in law enforcement, our men and women in the fire service, our EMS personnel, our military, our flag, our anthem, our God, our churches, our First Amendment. We got to step up. If we are not out there trying to save souls, we will lose the soul of our nation. And I know there are people out there that don't believe it. There are people out there that don't understand that, and that's fine. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to understand it. Just understand this. If we keep going down the road we're going right now, we will lose our country. And we're not going to lose it from some outside enemy. We're going to lose it from the enemy within our own borders. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not ready to let that happen. So yeah, it's time to stand up. It's time to let your voice be heard and to put an end to this before we lose more lives, before we lose more cities, more businesses. It's time. All right, guys. So this week's service goes out to our men and women out there on the streets, our men and women in those ambulances, on those fire trucks, in those squad cars, in those police helicopters, on those SWAT teams, the ones who are out there doing everything they can to try to keep the people safe, to try to get people to the medical attention they need, to try to keep people's homes and businesses from burning to the ground. You know, when we live in a nation where police are called to fictitious crimes only with the intent of the caller to attack, to try to kill, or severely injure the law enforcement officers, to have no regard for authority, to have no regard for the men and women in uniforms. Because, you know, they'll see a firefighter, sometimes they'll see him just from the back, and because of the color of their uniform shirt, attack them. Why? Because they think they're a police officer. Or see our EMS personnel being attacked. These are the men and women who chose to take jobs knowing that every day they go to work could be their last on this earth. Every day that they go to work, they could become so severely injured that they will never work again. Or contract some illness, some disease, possibly bring it home to their families. But you know what? They still do it. They get up every morning or every evening and they go to their job and they give their all. They give 100%. And they do it for the sheep. They do it for the wolves. So guys, just remember, there are people out there that have sworn to protect the communities. And it's beyond time for us to stand up and protect them. And again, take our nation back. All right, guys, as always, faith, not fear. Because fear is a cheater. It's a liar. It's a thief. It'll steal your joy. It'll steal your sanity. And it'll drive you to the point of madness. And as always, be the kind of American worth the sacrifice that our law enforcement, our firefighters, our EMS, and our military make every single day. All right, guys, we will be back with you next week, and depending on how things are going, we will hopefully get to the 12th Amendment. All right, guys, take care.